Welcome back to another episode of All Chiefed Up. I'm Steve, and I'm here with Mike at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. We just watched the Kansas City Chiefs beat up on the Washington Commanders a little bit. First team offense looked good, first team defense looked good, and we're going to talk about more. But first, before we get started, if you guys enjoy the channel, make sure to hit that like button on all the videos and help us out. Also, if you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications when we come out with new content, and we appreciate you.
Okay, let's jump right into the game, man. What did you think about the first team offense? They look pretty good today, right?
First team offense looked really good. I mean, they didn't do anything flashy, but they were efficient getting the ball up the field. They were chunking off 10, 11-yard plays over and over and over again. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a couple of good catches. Justin Watson actually got out there with team number one and looked very, very good. He made some great catches. And then, of course, Jody Fortson out there with team one and had a couple of touchdowns, and that was great. Mahomes, excellent. Had some really good passes. One kind of sidearm and around somebody. Highlight pass. It's probably all over the internet. I haven't looked yet. But yeah, I really enjoyed what the offense looked like today. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think Jody Fortson actually looked really good, which we kind of expected. We're still on the train of four tight ends, so we didn't think nothing about that. I do think Justin Watson definitely played himself on the team today, like for sure.
Oh, absolutely. If that number 5 spot wasn't a lock for him, it is now. After that long catch down the field, that was just excellent. He just looked really good. He looked fast. He was getting separation, and he made some contested catches. So yeah, Justin Watson looks like a target that Mahomes is going to utilize quite a bit.
Right, Watson kind of looked like his security blanket there for a few seconds, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did. Travis Kelce is obviously, but yeah, it'd be nice to have another guy in the mix where he can rely on, to make those third down catches.
Yeah, it's too bad Tyreek's gone now because I mean, just in 2 drives we only scored 14 points. So I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I know. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but we weren't able to move the ball down the field without Tyreek Hill. It's
Yeah, that's
amazing.
pretty crazy.
Everybody was right.
Okay, man, let's jump over to the defense. What do you think about the first team defense? They got to play 2 or 3 series, it looks like today.
Yeah, first team defense looked good as well. They did kind of allow more yardage than they did in the previous matchup against the Bears, but they still looked good. They didn't allow any points. And Nick Bolton was flying around the field. He looked excellent. I love seeing that. Very reminiscent of last year. Who did you think was a standout on the defense first team?
I actually thought Nick Bolton as well. Nick Bolton looked really good. I thought George Karlaftis looked good when he got a chance. He actually got that big sack again. This is 2 games in. George Karlaftis does 2 sacks. You can't really beat that. But anyways, yeah, I feel like the offense and the defense both looked really good today. I thought the first team looked really good.
Absolutely. Crowd was going nuts for George Karlaftis. It's good to see him playing with that high motor and really excelling so far. All right. So outside of that first team offense and defense, Mike, who did you notice that kind of shined today and who kind of disappointed?
I thought on the second team defense, I thought Leo looked good when he got a shot. People were saying he was in on the first team. I never seen that. I have to go back and watch the film. We were live, so it was tough to do that. When Leo did get in the game, he really impressed.
Yeah, I came in around the fourth quarter and he was flying all over the field. He looked a lot like Nick Bolton did in the first quarter. Just making plays like crazy, even jumped the gap there and stopped a run in its tracks. I mean, he looks really good when he's out there.
Yeah, I thought Joshua Kando made a few good plays. I thought Jalen Watson missed a few tackles, but he was actually in position a lot more today, and he actually made a few good plays. I was kind of impressed with him.
Yeah, Jalen Watson had some really good coverage plays. Like you said, he wasn't out of his position as much as he was in the Bears game. So he was able to make a lot more pass breakups. He did miss a couple tackles here and there, but nothing major. He actually looked really good. So I was glad to see that.
From the offensive standpoint, I think still
Yeah.
live. Live. Chiefs won. Chiefs win. Okay, but yeah, getting back to the offense, I think I'm a little disappointed with that offensive line again, aren't you?
Yeah, the offensive line first team looked decent. They had a couple of little breakdowns here and there, but it was nothing major. But I'll tell you, man, the second and third team look absolutely ridiculous. Like it's definitely a sore spot for this team. They've got to do something. Even the right tackle spot on the first team, Wiley did not look good. He allowed a couple of guys to get right by him and really hit Mahomes and break up some plays. I think that they got to look maybe further than Andrew Wiley for maybe an answer. And if it's not somebody we have on the team right now, you better start looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of odd. We just kept saying, "Where's Darian Kennard?" We drafted this guy in the 5th round. He's sitting over there on the sideline with his hands on his hips. He's not even in at the end of the game. At least before we left the stadium, he may have come in the last few drives, but it was midway through the fourth, and we hadn't seen him yet.
Yeah, and like I put on Twitter, he was visibly frustrated that he was not in the game. He was on the sideline, kind of antsy looking, hands on his hips. He looked really pissed off, just to be blunt about it. But I don't blame him. I think that they need to get him in there and see more reps with him. Granted, a lot of people's like, well, maybe he's just not doing enough. at practice to earn that playing time yet. But I mean, if you look at the guys that they're putting on the field after the first team, they look god awful. So why not go ahead and get Kennard in there to see what he can do? Because if you're looking at his college tape, we drafted him in the fifth round. The guy, he's a good tackle, and I think there's a lot there, but we've got to give him a shot. I don't understand why we're not getting him on the field.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of odd that Rojo didn't really get to take a lot of snaps with the first team. Again, we didn't see Rojo till after we already seen Clyde, Pacheco, and McKinnon. So he was what, fourth team snaps?
He was very, very late getting in the game. But yeah, he did look a lot better. He actually caught a pass for a positive gain. He looked a lot better than he did last week as well. So maybe they need to go ahead and get Rojo in just a little bit earlier in this last preseason game and see if we're going to keep him around.
Yeah, I'm curious how they split up the playing time there. Are they going to play the starters? They're just going to take a look at all the depth guys. I'm not for sure. Who do you think after this game, like early, we're going to go back and watch more film, obviously, but just seeing it live, getting a first impression, who do you think's on that cut line after today?
I think Josh Gordon actually looked good today, got a lot of separation, but you notice that he never gets looked at by the quarterbacks. So he can be wide open. He still never gets anything. So Josh Gordon's just really in a bad spot. And then Justin Watson looks so good. I think that, he's on that cut line because Darius Fountain actually looked pretty decent again today. And we know he's a special teams guy, and Josh Gordon's not. We've said it a million times. So I think Josh Gordon's still on that cut line. Rojo and Derek Gore's kind of fighting it out for that third spot. Isaiah Pacheco looked solid today, so I think that he's definitely the two. And then you got McKinnon that's kind of there at the two with him as well. So I think that they're definitely going to be cutting probably Rojo or Gore. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I think for the defense, the guy that disappointed me the most again today was Boodle. He seems to be out of position a lot. Like he gets beat. I know that everybody's saying, these are just good passes or whatever, but he really just does not impress me at all. I don't understand how Lonnie Johnson gets cut over Boodle, but there it is. I think Boodle's firmly somewhere straddling that cut line. I thought Lamont's made a couple good plays today.
Yeah, Chris Lamont's looked really good. DiCaprio Boodle makes no sense to me. He was getting beat all day, didn't do anything spectacular, and I think we've seen enough, so I don't know why we're wasting so many reps on him. He essentially played the entire game when we had some other guys that maybe need to get out there and get a shot at it. But yeah, I think Boodle's definitely on that cut line. I'd be really surprised if they keep him around.
No, I think Jalen Watson at this point looks better than Boodle, and I take the draft pick over the UDFA.
Yeah, Chris Lamons even looks better. So yeah, I think Boodle's definitely very, very low on this roster.
Okay, so we just seen Tayon Fleet Davis score a late touchdown here in the fourth quarter. You guys just seen the fireworks show. The game's over. After this initial watch, who do you think we need to see more of going into the last preseason game, actually?
I think there's a couple of guys that deserve a little bit more time in the game. That way we can see if they got what it takes to stay on this 53 man. I think Darren Kennard needs more reps just to see if maybe he can be a number two or a number one right tackle. Also, Jarian Ely, he only got out there for maybe a punt return. I think that I'd like to see him on the field, maybe in that slot receiver position, or maybe even run the ball, maybe give him a shot at it to see if he has what it takes to maybe slide in ahead of, Rojo or Gore. So I think those are two that I would really like to see. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'll go to the defense. I think I wanted to see more Nasir Greer. I thought he looked good against Chicago. I really didn't get to see him play a lot today, and I thought he earned that.
Yeah, for sure. Nasir Greer looked really good last week, and I didn't even see him on the field. I could be wrong, but I don't think he got out there today. So just kind of wrapping up today's game, Jody Fortson looks excellent. He had 2 touchdowns, which is awesome for him. Jody Fortson is back, baby. He's coming off that injury quite nicely. Patrick Mahomes looked good. Clyde didn't really run the ball, but maybe a couple of times. Pacheco got a lot more playing time this week than he did last week. So we saw a little bit more what he had to offer. Looked solid the whole game.
Okay, so Shane Boucher got to play a lot today. Chad Henne didn't get to play hardly at all, if any. I think they just wanted to see what Boucher was going to do. He made a few good passes. He did overthrow Fortson in the end zone one time. Other than that, he got to show off a lot of running ability. That offensive line is really giving him a hard time. Like, that offensive line looked horrible again. I want to see how Shane Boucher can throw the ball, not how he can run. Like, I don't want Lamar Jackson part two. I want to judge his arm.
Right. I wonder if Andy Reid's going to pull Andy Heck to the side and let him know that the offensive line, the depth of it is terrible, and they're so bad in these games. You're not even seeing good reps from the offense. I don't even know how they're, evaluating these players when they literally never have time to run a full play on offense.
There was one more player that was kind of disappointing today. I'm going to point at Cornell Powell. I didn't think Cornell Powell done anything again.
Yeah, Cornell Powell, guys. That's what I've been saying all along. He might look good in camp sometimes, but I don't think he's anything special. And I think he's going to end up on the practice squad again. Mike, who are your winners and losers of today's game?
I think Justin Watson was a big winner. I think he solidified that number 5 wide receiver role. Fountain may have also got the number 6. It's going to be between him and Josh Gordon. I think Powell's kind of played himself out of it, barring something miraculous here coming up. Go Chiefs. And then
A lady just terrified the hell out of
she
me.
scared you to death, didn't she? Okay, and then on the defense, I think who really impressed me was Leo when he got some reps, and George Karlaftis again. George Karlaftis looked really good.
Absolutely. I think Justin Watson's an obvious winner. Leo Chanel was an obvious winner when he actually got in the game. He was everywhere. He looked just like Nick Bolton. He was actually playing in the mic a lot and all over the field. Anytime the ball was somewhere, Leo Chanel was very close behind making plays. I think those are the two main ones that I noticed that were really winners. Darius Fountain looked solid, just did enough to where he's probably holding on to that sixth receiver spot. But yeah, I mean, nothing major from today's game. Probably the best news from today's game is just that the ones all look great, man. We have nothing to really worry about. One more winner, I would probably say Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He looked good on that first drive, made a couple of good catches. So he got to do a little bit more than he did last week. And I think he's going to kind of solidify himself as maybe a midfield target as well as somebody that's going to take the top off the defense. So he might be able to be utilized in different ways this year.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to talk about is Rashad Fenton. We've seen him come off the field, go to the blue tent. We initially thought it was a shoulder. It looked like he was hanging his right shoulder.
Right.
Come to find out, they're tweeting that it may have been a groin injury.
Yeah, it looked like his shoulder was hanging down, but he was actually just grabbing his groin. So he didn't re-aggravate that shoulder injury, but there's a groin issue there. All right. So at the conclusion of this game, Mike, do you think that people took a good step up from the Bears game last week, or did you kind of just seeing the same things, or do you think some people went backwards? Where do you think we're at as a whole right now?
Well, I mean, number one, we wanted to see the offensive line come out and do a lot better. They did not. The offensive line did not do any better between the Bears game to the Commanders game. So that was a dud. That was horrible. If you go to individual performances, George Karlaftis still dominated. I think he looked better maybe in the first game than this one at times. I've seen him slip a few times. I've seen him miss on some of his moves. Maybe the offensive tackle play was just a little better here. Other than that, I thought we wanted to see Orlando Brown Jr. take on the speed rusher today. I only see Orlando kind of make one misstep, and that may not even be a misstep. I have to go back and rewatch the film more in depth. But other than that, no, just basically the offensive line and the right tackle spot, it still just looks like a sore point, and I think that's going to hurt us if we can't figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. So Juju didn't play today. McColl didn't play today. Chris Jones did not play today. So yeah, we definitely missed them. But the fact that the first team offense and first team defense still looked good and dominant in this game, excellent news for us. Go ahead and wrap it up here at Arrowhead Stadium. If you guys like this content, make sure to smash that like button. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Tell your friends and family where they can find good Chiefs content on YouTube. Hit that share button. Share it on your social media. We'll be back with a more in-depth wrap-up of this game against the Washington Commanders after we watch the film again. Really get to study it. And then when we get settled back down in Kentucky, we're going to go ahead and throw that on here for you. So be on the lookout for that. All right, Mike, you got anything else for Chiefs Kingdom before we head out?
I do not. It's just been a fun trip in Kansas City. We're doing this right before we jump in the car and drive home 8 hours. So it's going to be a fun one. This is an odd little video. I know you're not used to it, but we thought it was kind of cool to get that scenery in the background. So hope you enjoy it.
Have a good one.
There goes a sight from my soul.